Hey friends, it's Corey from Hey Let's Make Stuff, back with another laser review. In today's video, we're going to be talking all about the new xTool M1 Ultra. This is the newest machine that xTool has, and in this video, we're going to go over everything it does because it is so much more than just a laser machine. This machine can not only laser cut and engrave, but it can do blade cutting like the original M1 using 3 different types of blades. It can also do foiling, debossing, it can work with a pen, and it can even print. So if you're short on space or tired of juggling a lot of machines, this might be a really good choice for your craft space. I feel like xTool is really innovating in this laser space, and with this machine, it is no different. It is somewhat similar to the xTool S1, which I have a review on. I will go ahead and link to that. It has some of my favorite features from that S1, as well as some other new features that I haven't seen in any of their lasers so far. Now, like I said, this is the xTool M1 Ultra. It is the upgraded version of the original xTool M1. And when I say upgraded, I mean it is basically a brand new machine. Other than having both laser and blade cutting capabilities, this machine is very different from the original M1 and it is super upgraded. So if you were thinking about getting that original M1 but you haven't yet, you may want to look at the M1 Ultra instead. Now you all know that I don't really like to do unboxing videos because I like to be able to use the machine before I actually review it. But I will say that unboxing this was really super easy. One of my complaints with the original M1 is that there was some setup, there was a lot to do, it was kind of confusing. This right here, set up in under 15 minutes. xTool continues to make things easier and easier, which is really great if you're a beginner just getting into laser crafting. You may be overwhelmed with all of the things that this machine can do, and I think that is a valid concern, but definitely get it out of the box because setup was super easy. Like many diode lasers, the xTool M1 Ultra is a very great size for hobby crafters. So it's not this huge machine that's going to take up a ton of space. It only weighs about 26.5 pounds, so it is easy to move around. It's about 24 inches wide and 19 inches deep. You will need an extra 3 inches of space off the back for the vent pipe, and then it's about 6.5 inches tall. When you open it up, it's about 25 inches tall, so make sure to take that into account with whatever space you're going to put this in. You can also add on a riser base attachment. So basically this lifts the machine up about 5.5 inches so that you can use things like the RA2 Pro rotary attachment, which allows you to process circular objects. So I have a video all about using that tool in my xTool S1. It's very similar in this M1 Ultra. I will go ahead and link to that. So if you're looking at getting any accessories for this machine, I think the riser base and that RA2 Pro tool are 2 that I would recommend. The riser base is also a single piece, which I really appreciate. The original M1 had a riser base that sort of came in 4 pieces, and I found it very clunky, very difficult to move. The one that you can get for this machine is a single piece. Yes, it is a little bit more difficult to store because it doesn't break down, but it is much easier to use with the machine itself. The working size inside the machine is just under 12 by 12, so it's 11.8 by 11.8. I do wish it was a full 12 by 12 because it would be nice to be able to cut those full 12 by 12 materials. Like with any laser machine, the xTool M1 Ultra needs to be vented. And this is one of those places that I think xTool is really innovating. So I'm gonna pull this off the back here, and this is the vent pipe. So normally you just have the pipe section and it sort of attaches to the back of the laser. But they've created this sort of exhaust fan that actually just clips into the back. This is amazing. I really hate attaching the vent pipe to the back of my other machines. I don't like the vent pipe clips. I find them really difficult to use because my hands tend to hurt a lot. This just clips in using these little clips. It has a built-in filter. You can see that I've been using my machine because my filter is a little bit dirty. This you can swap out really easily. It actually pulls air through an exhaust fan and out. Then there are 2 ways that you can use that pipe to vent out any dust and debris from inside your machine. The first is to use a door or a window. You just have to run the pipe outside. And of course, this is the best option for a lot of people because it is free. The other option is to use their desktop air filter. Now, this is originally designed for their F1 machine, a machine that I don't have, but it works really well, and I like it a lot more than their big floor unit, which is a little bit difficult to move around. This one just sits on my desk, and it sits right next to this machine, and it's really easy to vent the machine into that air filter. All right, now let's take a look at the anatomy of the machine itself. So if I had opened up the lid here, you'll see that there is a large laser bed where you can make your projects. In the base of the laser bed, you have two options to lift your project up to get that airflow underneath when you're laser cutting. The first are the dreaded triangle prisms, and I have talked about in my other xTool videos that I do not like the triangle prisms. However, I feel like xTool might be listening to me. It's probably not just me, but I feel like they've been listening, and they have created a frame for these triangle prisms. So this is so much better than having all of these pieces loose inside the bottom of your machine. The frame is really easy to put together, and you just place it in the bed of the machine and you can cut your project. I do wish that these pieces actually stayed in there so they actually come out. You have a couple pieces that are locked in there and then the other pieces just sit. It does make it a little bit difficult to sort of move around and set down because the little pieces want to come out, but overall this is still a much better solution than just having the pieces loose. The other option is to get the add-on honeycomb base for your laser. While the frames for these triangle prisms are great, and I'm really glad that they did that, and they also come with the machine, I really do prefer the honeycomb base. I just think it's a lot easier to work with. However, these come with the machine, so it's not an extra cost. If you want to get the honeycomb tray, it's going to cost you a little bit extra. The lid itself is tinted orange like a welder's helmet, which means that you can look directly at the laser while it's cutting. It's a nice little safety feature. We will be talking about some of the other safety features later in this video. Then inside we have a swappable module. So I talked about at the beginning of this video how this laser can do so much more than just a laser cut. These modules give you the ability to use all sorts of different tools in your machine, and we'll go into those in just a few minutes. There are actually two buttons on the front of this machine. There is a button for framing, which I will talk about again a little bit later in this video, as well as the button which you press to start the processing on your machine. And then on the back are all sorts of connectors. You've got your power cord, your air assist, your filter, all sorts of things. They're all plugged into the back. Okay, let's talk about all of these swappable modules. The first is the laser module. So I have the 10-watt laser module, and you can cut, score, and engrave all sorts of materials using this module. They also make a 20-watt, and if you can swing it, I highly recommend getting the 20-watt. I feel like a 20-watt laser is sort of the sweet spot for diode lasers. It's faster and more powerful than a 10-watt laser, but it's not quite as expensive as something like a 40-watt laser. So if you can swing it with your budget, I would definitely get the 20-watt over the 10-watt. The xTool M1 Ultra has a diode laser, whether it's the 10-watt or the 20-watt. A diode laser can cut all sorts of materials, and the one thing you do need to know about it is that it cannot cut every color of acrylic. I do have an extensive video on cutting acrylic with a diode laser, but just know that if you want to cut clear, some whites, a lot of blues, sort of these colors, you're not going to be able to do that on this machine just because of the color of the laser itself. The video that I have on cutting acrylic with a diode laser will cover everything you need to know about cutting acrylic with this particular machine. So if that's something you're interested in, I highly recommend that you go watch that video. Next up, we have sort of a multi-function carriage. If you have a Cricut or a Silhouette, this carriage is sort of similar to those carriages. You can use all sorts of tools using this carriage. Now I know all of these tools probably look the same from there, but I'm going to go through them all. The first is cutting with a fine point blade. The original xTool M1 had a fine point blade, and this one does as well. This is great for cutting cardstock, adhesive vinyl, iron-on vinyl, those sorts of things. You'll do this by sticking your material to a mat in the bottom of the machine and cutting like you would on a regular electronic cutter. They also have something they're calling the cutting blade, but really it is like a knife blade. It's like a little X-Acto knife. Now, to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure why you would want this, only because anything that I'm going to be cutting that is thick enough to cut with something like a knife blade, I'm going to be using the laser. There's just no way I'm going to sit here and cut this with a blade. There may be some non-laser safe materials that you may want to try this with, but honestly, I couldn't really think of any off the top of my head. Pretty much anything I would probably cut with my laser instead. Next up, we have a rotary blade, and this is awesome because it can cut all sorts of fabric and felt. The rotary blade is one of my favorite tools in my Cricut Maker, so I was glad to see that they have one here. There are some limitations with using this blade. For example, if you're cutting something circular, you want the diameter of your circular object to be larger than 0.79 inches. So it can't cut super detailed pieces of fabric, but it's really, really great if you don't like using scissors or another tool. Then we have sort of a foil transfer tip or debossing tool. So if you have foil on your project, like the Cricut foil tool, it will actually foil your project for you. It doesn't require any heat, it is pressure sensitive. If you don't have a piece of foil over your project, it will just deboss. Finally, you can use pens with your machine, and I believe these come standard with the machine in the basic version. You get 8 different pens as well as an adapter. I haven't tried it yet, but xTool says this adapter will work with other types of pens, so maybe if you have Cricut pens or another brand of pens, you can try using them with this as well. Finally, we have have the inkjet module. So when I found out this thing could also print, it was a little bit of a mind-blowing moment for me. I wouldn't say this is the most high quality print ever, but you can print not just on paper, but wood and leather and other materials. This is just really a great way to expand the number of things you can make and make some really unique projects. All right, now that you know all of the things that this machine can do, let's talk safety. Safety is one of the #1 things I look for in a laser these days because I live in a very dry forest, and like everywhere else right now, it's been really hot. And the last thing I want to do is set my neighborhood on fire. So like I said, it does have the orange cover, which protects your eyes. Basically, it functions like a welder's helmet, so you can look directly at the laser while it's cutting. In the back, there is a tiny USB key, and it does come with 2 of these, which I'm thankful for because Lord knows I would probably lose this. And basically, this key allows the machine to be turned on and off. If you don't have this key in the back of the machine won't function. So if you have small, curious children who might want to turn on the laser, you can just hide the key, and then they won't be able to use the laser at all. And then it has a 5-way fire detection system inside, and I have now experienced that firsthand. I was trying to cut a material, I had my power too high, there was just a tiny little flare up, and automatically the machine shut down. And I got a warning on my screen. I went and looked, it really wasn't bad at all, so I pulled my material out and changed my settings, but I was really impressed to see how quickly it turned the machine off when it detected that very small fire. And then finally, like with pretty much every other laser I have, if you open the lid while it's processing, it will automatically stop. All of these features make me confident using the xTool M1 here in my studio. Now with this machine, you might be wondering what types of software you can use. So right now, the only software that's supported is the xTool Creative Space software, which honestly has come so far since that original xTool M1. When I first got that laser, I really felt like the software needed work, but honestly, it has become so much better. It's very robust, it's very easy to use. I am also hoping that at some point they will add support for Lightburn, which is another software that laser crafters like to use. It does work with a lot of their other lasers, so I assume at some point you'll be able to use Lightburn with this laser, but I don't think it's possible right now. All right, in addition to all of the modules and tools and all of the things you can do with this laser, there are a few features I want to highlight. The first is the fact that this doesn't have a camera. Now, most of my machines do have a camera, and a camera is not bad, especially if it's an HD camera, but generally a camera in the lid of the machine is going to be a fisheye lens, which means that it is going to slightly distort what it sees in the bed of your laser. Instead, this machine and my xTool S1 use a pinpoint positioning system. So basically, the machine knows exactly where the head of the laser is at all times, and it gives you a little red X in Creative Space so you know where it is at all times. Let's say you wanted to engrave a square slate coaster. So instead of trying to place your design based on the picture that you would get with a fisheye lens, you're going to physically put your slate in the machine, and then you're going to move the laser head to the corner of your slate, and you're going to press that silver button on the front to mark the first corner. Then you're going to physically drag the laser head over the bottom corner of the coaster, and you're going to press that button again. That's going to draw exactly where your coaster is in the bed of the machine in xTool Creative Space. You will have a perfectly aligned image because you've used this marking system instead of a fisheye lens. I have used my xTool S1 extensively, and I've used this machine quite a bit since I've got it, and I have to say I really prefer this marking system over that fisheye lens because I think it is just so much more accurate. They also have a feature called framing, which I first learned about with my xTool S1. Again, it's something that I really like. So let's say you have that coaster in the bed of your machine and you're going to go make it. Before you make it, you can click framing, and basically it's going to sort of draw the outline of exactly where your image is going to go. If you use that process marking system, it should be perfectly aligned on your coaster. But sometimes things go wrong. Maybe you move the coaster and forgot to do the marking. The framing will actually show you physically so you can see where your image is going to engrave or cut. That has saved me several times thinking that my material was in the right place, but once I did the framing, I realized, oh nope, it's going to cut off the side of it. I don't want to do that, and I can go back and fix my file. And then finally, you can also use this laser with your phone. I have not tried this out, but there is an app. There is a way to take a photo of the inside of your laser. There's all sorts of features that you can do with your phone. I personally don't like working from my phone. I find it too small. I really prefer working from my computer. But if you're a user who likes working from your phone, or you don't have a computer, you don't necessarily need that computer. You can just do things from your phone. So let's talk about cost. I have to say, when xTool sent me the prices, I was actually surprised. I was expecting this machine to be a little bit more expensive than it was. You can get the base model of this machine, which comes with the 10-watt laser, as well as the module for the fine point blade, the cutting blade, and the pen for about $1,300. But if you want to go all out and get basically every tool that they have to go with this machine, it's going to cost you about $2,700. So you're going to get that 20-watt laser head module, you'll get that ink module, you'll get all the different tools, you'll get the riser base, you'll get the honeycomb panel, you'll get the RA2 Pro, you'll get basically all the bells and whistles for $2,700. And honestly, I feel like that is a really, really good deal compared to a lot of the other lasers on the market. It's just so much you can make with one machine. So do I recommend this machine? Heck yeah, I think it's a great machine. It took a lot of the innovations from that original xTool M1 and made them so much better. Plus they added a lot of features from their other machines like that xTool S1 that I really love, and also make the machine safer. I've reviewed a lot of diode lasers here on my blog, and honestly, I don't think there's a bad laser in the bunch. This laser is really good if you want to do a lot of things beyond laser cutting as well. So again, it can do that blade cutting, it can do the printing, all of those sorts of things. Is this going to replace my Cricut? Probably not. The Cricut is just so much faster. But if you don't want to have this and a Cricut, this will function like a Cricut for a lot of materials. And is this going to replace my printer? Definitely not. But if you want to be able to print on all sorts of interesting materials and create custom gifts, having a printing module in here is pretty cool. Overall, I think this is a really great machine for hobby crafters. Would I start a business with it? Maybe with the 20-watt module, but again, it's still not super fast. If you're looking for a machine for production, I'm not sure this is it. But if you're a hobby crafter who wants to get into laser crafting, as well as do a bunch of other things, this laser is a really great option. All right, I hope you found this video informative and helpful in your buying decisions. If you have any questions about what this machine can do, because it can do a lot, please leave those down in the comments and I'd be happy to answer you. Follow my channel for more laser, Cricut, sublimation, and printer content. I'll see you next time.